Using technology while you go. Today, using tech at your hotel or resort. Hello, my name is Chet Davis, your technology tutor. Welcome to Tech Talk with Chet. It's Friday, and we're traveling today. Well, at least virtually, right? Time to think about that upcoming vacation, that upcoming trip. Maybe it's one that's scheduled in a month or two. Maybe it's one you're thinking about and planning, and you want to take your technology with you. Well, I know you may have lots of questions. I've been fortunate to travel both a great deal domestically as well as around the world, and taking my technology with me. I love my technology. I use my technology not only for family, for documenting the trip, for photos, for journaling. I also use it as my personal digital assistant. And I love to have my tech with me, and I need it for my work as well. So I wanted to share with you kind of three different areas today. First of all, getting power while you're at the resort. Secondly, security, privacy. And thirdly, just some apps, some utilities, some features that might help your use of technology to make it an even better tool. First of all, powering. A couple times this week in the program, we've talked about powering while you go. We've talked about, battery charger. We've talked about powering it while you're in the car, powering while you're on the airplane. And some of that relates, of course, to a train, while you're in a train station and a bus station, what have you. But today I want to talk again about while you're there, when you end up at the resort. What do you need to think about in terms of power? Of course, when we're home, we may have lots of different power modules, that we plug in. So we've got different devices we connect and plug in. But when you're traveling, especially if you're traveling internationally and a couple weeks, maybe a month, something like that, you're very intentional, very thoughtful about how much stuff you bring with you, and your tech accessories are part of that. Now, certainly you want to make sure that you're powered, that you bring enough stuff with you to power. But here's a device I came across a little more than a year ago, and I've used it on an international trip as well as I use it. It's plugged into my next to my nightstand. And what it is, it's a power module. MoPower is what it's called. And you can see it has one connecting cord that plugs into your wall outlet, into the AC outlet. And then it has 4 USB ports. Now, 2 ports are a higher amperage and 2 ports are a standard amperage. What that means is 2 ports will recharge something like a smartphone or an iPhone. And the other 2 ports can also be used for a smartphone or iPhone, but there's enough amperage that they will charge things like an iPad or a tablet. So you still need to bring the lightning cable, USB to lightning cable, or if you have, if you're on an Android phone, the USB to micro USB, something like that. Whatever connecting cord you use, but you don't have to bring the power block. This has 2 advantages. You don't need to bring a whole bunch of those different connectors along with you. The other advantage is there's only one outlet that plugs in the wall. And if you've been in some of these older hotels or hotels in developing nations, hotels, in Paris, there may be one power outlet for the whole room, and you've got a bunch of stuff to charge, right? The other benefit is you can have multiple people. So if I'm traveling with my wife and my youngest son, then a number of us can be charging our phone at the same time with one power outlet, which brings me to this as well. If you're traveling internationally, you also need to make sure you bring along an adapter, a power adapter. So this will plug into the wall in a number of countries, and then on the back side, I go ahead and I plug in that MoPower unit so that it will power. Again, I can recharge up to 4 mobile devices at once using that. So very, very useful. The thing about power, and I have an upcoming class in the middle of May that will talk more about this, but generally speaking, you are safe using your technology in many of the countries. We're susceptible to brownouts, which are lower voltage in certain countries during certain times of the day. I'll talk about that in that class. But as a rule, you can take your gear internationally with you, and it will work as long as you have that little adapter that fits into the wall. Okay, so that's powering your device. And I generally do charge them up overnight. Now, if you have a smartwatch, like I have the Apple Watch, you need to bring that special charger with you as well. But one end is USB, so it will plug right into that MoPower unit, and I do use that every night. So a couple thoughts as well about security. Um, Generally speaking, I have an optimistic belief on the human population. I think the people working in hotels are like me. They want to live a good life. They want to treat people well. They want to treat people fairly. Law-abiding and reasonable people. There are certain elements that are around every place we go. In your neighborhood, in the nearest large city, and when we travel. And you want to be intentional and thoughtful about your technology, and don't create a temptation for someone to say, maybe I could take that and sell it or use it myself. So I'm very intentional when I'm leaving the room, especially for any period of time, to make sure, of course, that the door is locked, but also that my technology is out of view. I don't leave it just sitting on the bed. I don't leave my laptop or my iPad Pro sitting on the bed or my smartphone just sitting on the counter. If it's not with me, and there is a safe, I will go ahead and lock it in the safe. Oftentimes, if your room doesn't have a safe, there will be a safe at the front desk that you could ask to lock up your smartphone or your tablet, your iPad, something. If you've brought that along with you and you're not taking it with you on a day trip, go ahead and lock that up. The other thing is put it out of sight. Hide it under a piece of furniture, under the mattress or something. I know that may be the first place people look, but in my mind, that's far better than just leaving it out in plain view. So when housekeeping comes through, they have to move it, let alone to change the covers and everything. So just be thoughtful and intentional about that. Another issue with privacy and security is be intentional about the Wi-Fi network. And we did talk about this a couple weeks ago on the program when using Wi-Fi networks out and about, is that there are unsecure or insecure Wi-Fi networks. And you can use a VPN service, a virtual private network service, and I did talk about that earlier, 3 weeks ago on the program. How do you do that, especially if you need to do any proprietary business, banking, anything like that online? You want to make sure that you're using a VPN to protect your experience, or at the least using a secure Wi-Fi network. If it's unsecure, make sure that the only thing you're doing is kind of, checking your non-proprietary email, sending messages back home, that kind of thing, surfing the web, Facebook, etc. Be aware as well that depending on the country that you're traveling, Facebook may not be an option. There are a number of countries throughout Asia that do not have access to Facebook. Sometimes as well, Google is restricted. You may know Google has a different browser for different parts of the world. So there's a lot to take in regarding technology and traveling. And again, that's why I'm developing that course, which will be released in the middle of May. So stay tuned to this page if you haven't already liked this page, so you'll be informed of that. So that's a couple tips about privacy and security. The other thing I wanted to share with you is I love documenting my trips. Some of you may know I love digital photography, iPhone photography we call it, because the iPhone is the camera that's always with you, right? And it's capable of such great photographs and capturing those great memories. So when you're back home, you can kind of relive that trip, relive that memory. So I wanted to share with you a couple thoughts regarding documenting your trip, kind of journaling the trip, if you will. Always a good idea when you get to a new place, especially if there's a cool lobby, a different looking lobby, then you want to go ahead and be aware that this, capture a photo of the check-in experience. This is my wife and my youngest son when we arrived in Siem Reap, Bangkok, before we toured the temples. This is the beautiful, very affordable, but beautiful hotel right there in Bangkok. So you may not think to capture that, especially if you've had a long day of traveling, but these memories are something that it's hard to take back. Great to have them in your mind, but it's great to relive them and share them. Here's another photo, especially when the foods are different or unique. This was a breakfast bar in our hotel in Bangkok. And what an assortment. It had everything from sushi to exotic fruits that I had never seen in my life. And it was wonderful to have this photo to go back and relive that, right? And then I always recommend when you check into a hotel, capture a photo of the room before you put all your stuff in there, before you peel back the bedspreads, etc. Go ahead and capture a photo, and then be sure to photograph the hotel amenities. This was the pool at a place we stayed at in northern Laos last summer. Being very careful, I climbed into the pool and put my phone right near the water's edge. Don't recommend this. Be careful if you do this. This man's a trained professional. Don't do this at home. And it's just, really good memories for capturing and utilizing your smartphone camera with you to capture that trip, to document that trip. So when you're out and about, you're doing the sightseeing and everything, you always take photos of that. But be sure to take photos of the resort, of your hotel, because that can be an important part, a meaningful part of your trip as well. Just a couple of other things I love, what I call utilities or apps. I love having the weather with me. I use the standard weather apps, but I also love an app called Dark Sky that is a really good predictor of rain. And when you're out and about, you're planning day trips, that can be very important to have. Of course, the a currency as well as a translator app will help you translate or modify currency. If you're going to go spend something at the breakfast bar, you need to know how many. Translate that back into your home, whether it's US dollars, the English pound, or the euro, whatever. That I find very useful. I also use my technology as my alarm. I've given up on hotel alarms for a number of reasons. One thing, I always go in and make sure to turn the alarm off, because the person who checked out and had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. to catch a flight out, the alarm clock may still be set at 4:30 a.m. and I do not want to be woken up tomorrow morning at 4:30 when I only have to get up at 7. So I use my own alarms on my technology. It's a way to back me up and make sure that even if you're using the hotel alarm, I like having a second thing to avoid jet lag, sleeping through an alarm and missing that wonderful day trip. All right, so that's it. Some thoughts and tips about using technology while you're at your resort. Delighted to share these tips with you, this information. Happy to answer questions too. If you have questions about technology, go ahead and put them in the comment box below. Please encourage your friends to drop by this Facebook page and like this page. That way they'll be alerted the next time I go live and have some information to share regarding technology. My mission, my passion is to help you use technology more successfully, more creatively, and more securely. Chet Davis, your technology tutor. Go out there and make it a great day. Bye-bye now.